What's going on, guys? Bladezilla here, and today we've got a very, very special one for you from Shirogorov's custom division. This is the Stellar B. Now this is one of those knives that lately you have to move heaven and earth to track down. They are in very high demand as they were just released about 2 weeks ago at the California Custom Knife Show, spring, and kind of took everybody by surprise and launched a new custom division knife in a familiar model, being the Stellar platform, with all the new add-ons and fanciness that we would kind of expect from this line, or from the company, I should say, that they've kind of added to a number of other production knives, other custom division knives. Lots and lots and lots to talk about today on this beautiful knife from Shirogorov. I'm excited. I haven't been this excited since filming probably the strip video a couple weeks back, which just kind of dropped like literally the day after I filmed that video, or actually filmed that one at nighttime. And yeah, so really excited. The strip's phenomenal. I've got one here to compare it with. I've got Loxes. I got lots of cool stuff to kind of compare with, but long-winded intro. Really excited to look at this knife today because it, in a lot of ways, was one of the first custom division knives I ever got. It was a Stellaris, which is a carbon version of this, and it's near and dear to me. I really enjoy it. So buckle up for the Stellar B video. As a reminder, check out my site, bladezilla.ca. Bada bing, it's on the phone right here. In Canada, lots of cool stuff, lots of Shiros. Just added some Kunwus, got some new purple F3s in, some Riets, all kinds of good stuff, CKFs, geez, you name it. I actually still have some CCKS F3 Magna Cuts left. I can't believe that. They're such a good deal and only 50 were made. I believe that. And then some Arum 111. Geez, still sitting on those. Great knife, limited edition as well. And Shiro's been banging out the limited editions, special editions, limited time offerings, whatever you want to call them, lately. And you know, in between all this stuff, they kind of, you know, launched a strip, and then or the fat strip, and then launched this new knife, the Stellar B, which people seem to think means brass. No, it's for bolster, as you can kind of see. We'll start with some measurements and kind of go down the laundry list like we do. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but I apologize in advance if it's too long, because I do like the knife. So overall, we're coming in at 8 1/4 inch overall length, full length, with 3 5/8, maybe 3 3/4 to the center of the choil, depending on how accurate your eyes are and how lined up my little tape measure is. Handle length of about 4 1/2 inches. So good mid-size. You know, it'd be the size of a lot of other competitors' full-size knives, I'd say. It's just a really solid size. We're going to do some comparisons to start. I noticed in the strip video I saved that for about 40 minutes in, probably because I was enamored by it. So we'll go, there's your neon for size comparison. And then we'll do, where's my quantum, let's do my custom division F95. There's your full size of your range of Shirogorovs, small, medium, and large. And reminder, in the neon, they do make a carbon version called the Hation, half tie neon, Hattie. They also make a Hattie F95, half tie F95. And then in the Stellar, we will have seen, geez, I've done videos now on a number of different Stellars, colors. I think I've got blue, bronze. I don't know if I still have them. I'd have to look, but blue, bronze, and I thought there was one other variant. The Stellar Touch. Sinkovich design. Really cool knife. Really cool. I kind of wish I actually kept one of those, just from a sizing perspective and availability. That thing is such a killer knife. We'll bring in the strip next, which, you know what, I should open this in front of these just to hear it. Oh, man. So there's your strip, which is kind of the sexiest knife in the world right now, in my opinion. Super hot. You know, when Shiro does a drop on a lot of these knives, they get a lot of hype very early on. And the strip is worth the hype. It's a love it or hate it. You know, my video on that one was about an hour, and I love that knife. We'll do the Laksa as well for size. So there's 3 absolute heavy hitters in one photo. That'd be a nice photo actually to take for something, but probably won't do anything with that. But really cool size-wise. People think the strip is a lot smaller than the dimensions indicate. I would actually argue it's the opposite of the Astrum. Whereas the Astrum is long and thin, this is short and plump. So it's pretty cool. Speaking of Astrum, there's your Astrum in comparison to the Stellar, right? So, you know, 4-inch blade on that guy in a very thin neon-esque handled package. So really cool. Size-wise, we can do the Bio as well. If we want to compare that. Put that strip away, or shall I show the strip one more time? This is quickly becoming one of my favorite Shirogorov knives. It takes a lot for me to love something to keep one, and watch the video on this. There's an hour of me playing with this exact knife, and I will say I love this thing. It's so quirky, so cool. The lines on it are in fact just incredible. You know, amazing bearing system inside, amazing action, Magna Cut, thick backspacer. It's got a lot of gadunk in that back end. It's just an incredible knife. I'm trying to get more of these for the store, but they're hard to pry loose. We'll do the RJ Martin Russian Overkill. And remember, if I put them at the bottom of the example, they're going to look huge. So it probably makes more sense to just do singles as comparisons. You know, top and bottom, that's more realistic size-wise, in my opinion. And then in terms of other Shirogorovs, well, we've done kind of the main contenders. We've done the F95s. I don't really think that we're going to do a whole lot more. We've done the Neon, so we're going to leave that as it sits, and then kind of just do some basics. So we'll do the Sebenza if you're not a Shirogorov guy or have a little less experience with Shirogorov. There's your Sebenza. That's a large Sebenza for those curious. And like I said, the Stellar is a lot of other brands' large knife, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Stellar is actually bigger than this, if not matching it, which says a lot just in itself. You know, it's a good size. It's a really great size, especially for someone who hasn't tried Shirogorov in the past. It's just such a great knife. And then your Para 2, which is what I used to open a lot of boxes. I apologize on the tape, but it works. So there's your size, just in case you haven't seen it. I'm assuming that if you're watching this video, most people who watch the Custom Division knife videos have an appreciation for the brand, or at least have experienced, you know, a Neon, Quantum, F95, etc., and are definitely in tune with what Custom Division means, CD, what it represents, and the difficulty in which it is to acquire one of these is truly different than a lot of the other knives that are on the site and I sell, and the level of craftsmanship that go along with these are just absolutely superb. They hold their resale value at a very high level for many years, and just, you know, as soon as you hold one, it's immediately evident why they're worth their money and why there's such a high demand for them. So I'll stop drooling on this one. Let's get a weight, and then we'll kind of go into some specifics on details and all that stuff. I've already, geez, I'm probably 10 minutes in. I am sorry. I just get the feeling this might be a little longer than I was kind of hoping for today. But these Custom Divisions are just drool-worthy knives in the first place, and oh my goodness, I cannot get enough of them. So I'm guessing around that high 3s, low 4s ounce. No, not even close. Perfect. I would edit that, but you know what? Sometimes I got to be wrong. So 4.7, is that what I'm saying? 4.7, wow. I'm actually kind of surprised. 4.7, and the blade's S90V, and it's a thick one too. So yeah, I guess yeah, I could see that being a 4.7, but in hand it doesn't feel 4.7. It, well, maybe it does. Now that maybe it is. Okay, well, yeah, that was supposed to be an intro of the video that I usually spend about 2 to 3 minutes on, and here we are. So I guess first and foremost, let's just admire this thing. So titanium handle, S90V, I believe. Yeah, S90V. Whew, almost dodged that one. S90V. We've got a number of finishings kind of going on all over the place. We've got some anno bolsters, which up until now, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe this is the only custom division knife with bolsters. They've done that on a lot of the full custom variants of the Stellar, and a lot of those guys with full custom Stellars will probably be pretty annoyed that a custom division knife has that feature now. But it's just the nature of evolution in the brand, and as they continually evolve and add features and benefits and change of materials, etc., they're just going to add these cool things. So I think the bolster looks phenomenal. We've got the new custom division pivots, which, or hardware I should say, which if you get up close and personal with this in 4K, you'll actually see it's all milled on that hardware, in like micro milled at a degree which is just gorgeous. Looks fantastic on both sides of the hardware, I should say, as well. So you'll see that in excruciating detail, hopefully. Now, I don't know what they're calling this. Like I said, it just, you know, the box says Stellar B for bolster, but I don't know what patterning they're actually calling the Stellar. Like, to me, it's it almost looks like a raindrop kind of thing. There's going to be a technical name for it, and maybe I'll look into that here just in case I can find it real quick. So I scour the internet and I cannot find what they're calling this pattern on the handle. I don't know. They're just calling it milled titanium. So it's obviously got some kind of pattern, but to me, it's kind of got a raindrop vibe to it. And I'm fine with calling it that. It looks terrific. It adds texture compared to the Stellar itself, the custom division Stellar. And as you guys know, there's two versions of the custom division, or I guess sprint run and a custom division. One is, I guess, more of a bronze anno with a plain blade. Looks great, high demand, 50 pieces. I don't believe I've actually been able to review that knife on the channel, so it's one that I'd like to track down at one point. Really great. I had the sprint run version of this knife, which had the Damascus blade, and less available, but really cool knife. Had that one as well for a while, and passed it on to someone who really wanted to add that to their collection, and it was their favorite kind of knife. And then back to my original story, my first ever custom division Shirogorov was actually a Stellaris. And I was really hesitant about trying to kind of get into that world and seeing what it was all about. And I just pulled the plunge. I pulled the pin on it, grabbed one, and unfortunately there was no looking back, because these knives will just ruin you. Because in hand, like, you can read specs, you can read build quality, and I can show you this knife in excruciating detail, and you know what? You don't truly understand and appreciate the value of it until it's in your hand. And to me, holding this, it feels like I'm holding like a Rolex. It's just a different experience than a production knife. The design of this, and compared to a design of a standard Stellar, they're both very similar. Very, very similar, with a few unique changes to it, but it's just a different overall experience that comes in the same size box, and that's the best way I can describe it. So to get back on track, so obviously those milled bolsters look terrific, and there is a nice little lip on there which I'm kind of curious. Like, I didn't expect it to actually do anything for me. And it almost looks like a little wing, you know? But in hand, my thumb just finds it so easily to hold, and it just locks the knife in so much more precisely than the Stellar Production that I hadn't experienced this feature on. So as I said, it's been on a lot of the customs, and they've kind of played with some of those materials, done some like crystal tie, some mocha tie, some zirca tie, etc. Really played with some blade steels, etc. But the feature's still here. Pretty cool. Ergonomics of the actual blade itself. Let's start with the flipper tab and how it's forward of center of that pivot, which means it hammers out really easily. It's a tab lock, which means there's less side pressure on the blade as well from the lock bar. And we've got nice and early lockup, gorgeously done. The milling on here is something that I typically like to show in a lot of my videos or Instagram stuff. I like to do close-ups on this because when you get close on that and the light's hitting it right, you see all that gorgeous milling on that lock bar or the locking mechanism. It's just so well done. It is raised as well. You know, if we look at the lock bar, I'd like to show it actually on my hattie that I have here. So if I roll the hattie, you can see the lock bar is raised on the far side. And that makes it finding it just a little bit easier, I find. And it's a feature that they do on the Quantum, they do on F95, the Neon, they do it on a lot of their knives. And that includes the Stellar. So it's raised, see right here, just a little bit, a hair enough that it's just so nice to see. And in hand, it just makes that gap feel like a lot less. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it's really nice. Now, kind of looking at this, the profile of this and how the light kind of hits it, I'm seeing kind of two different patterns on the knife. And I don't know if you guys are seeing this or not, but it kind of reminds me of looking down the spine of the Bio knife, and I'll show that in a sec here. But you can kind of see that raindrop or tear, or whatever they're going to call this textured patterning. You can kind of see the outline of a whole different knife profile here. You know, because at the top, on the corners here, they omit that milling, and then on the bottom here, they omit it as well. So you can kind of get this little line down the knife that just adds a nice little dose of, you know, engineering to it that just looks so cool. Design and engineering. I'll show you the Bio, what I'm talking about, because it's designed to be kind of like a spine, right? Rib cages and a spine. And you see what I'm saying? You get this line that's the spinal cord or the column that goes down the whole knife and just changes the complexion of the knife, for me. And that in conjunction with the hardware is supposed to mimic like I think it's a pedal or something, or it's something to do with biology. Just really cool to see that milling that pops off of it, but it's hiding in plain sight. And if you didn't see it, you'll probably only see it now. Right? A lot of people look at this knife and they don't realize that that's kind of hiding in there. Right? It's like a spinal cord and just plain sight, which is so cool. Once again, why one of them's in my collection, I just think they're so cool. So on the Stellar B, I get that little profile with the light hitting it at two different angles right now. It just pops off the handle beautifully. And very much so on the back side as well. We've got the exact same thing going on. And I'm just still on the fence of what I want to call this. Not that I get to name it, but am I crazy in calling this like a raindrop or a teardrop? Or like, what would you guys call this profile of the milling? I wish I knew it so I don't sound so stupid, but I apologize. If we keep going down the handle, we'll see obviously this clip, which is actually all micro milled as well, especially if you get into like the spots like here. Gorgeous, gorgeous milling. And hopefully that comes through in the video. It's hard to see unless you're really looking at it. Underneath the clip, we should have a couple hidden screws, or a hidden screw. Like on the last one, yes, we have two. So from the side, it just looks like a regular clip that's attached internally. But from this side, you see we've got one screw coming up from the inside, which holds the actual tab lock or the apron lock in place. And then we've got another one right kind of in this zone of the knife that once again comes up as well. Really cool. Hard to show, but you can kind of see it in there. Just hidden from plain sight, but still hiding and just right there. So cool. Once again, design elements that are just incredible. We're going to poke our nose inside this to see what kind of stuff we can see. I'm going to grab my little light here and open this guy up and take a look. Well, on the inside we've got some extensive milling. Oh my god. Some of the big, oh my goodness, some of the big spots that are actually taken out of this knife actually are two-stepped. In some cases three-step down. Wow. I would love to watch a video of this being taken apart and worked on for like an hour in 4K. Like that would be so relaxing with some very, you know, chill Metallica album in the background. That'd be a nice little touch. As well on the inside, I digress. As well on the inside we can see on that apron lock there, or the tab lock, more milling actually on the lock bar itself. It's very hard to show just because of my complete lack of camera skills, but there's a lot going on inside here. I'm going to try to just actually lock the exposure on the camera and just kind of artificially bring up a lot of the brightness on the inside of this to show you what the hell I'm talking about. So roll with me, and then we'll look at it, and then we'll go back to regular settings here just to try to show what I'm talking about. All right, so we've cranked up the brightness a little bit, so hopefully you can see inside, and the light's going to show some of the hardware that I'm seeing here, but you kind of have those two screws underneath the clip that are just hiding inside there, and then those big pockets of milling that are, geez, just stepped down beautifully well, and then that milling that's on the inside of that lock bar that's just hiding in plain sight. Hopefully you can see some of that stuff on the inside. I apologize, I just don't have the lighting that I wish I did sometimes. And then one more thing we should be seeing under here is that serial number hidden on the back side of the Backspacer, which is a nice little detail. Not written on the front of the knife, but actually under the lock bar. So this one is number 57 for those interested. There you go, 57. So I'm going to go back to the regular setting here to make this less overexposed. Okay, hopefully you have your sunglasses off, because that just felt, just looking at that screen, it's just too bright. And how I film this, I have a big light overhead, obviously, that just makes it easy, and then I've actually got a window in front of me right now kind of banging some, or banking some light around, which makes it just look a little cooler. But yeah, underneath that lock bar, really cool. Or not lock bar, underneath that Backspacer you've got that lighting, which looks great. I do want to shine a light to see if there's any gaps on this Backspacer, because I always like to see that just from a curiosity standpoint as well. No gaps, not on this one. Pretty darn cool. Some other details that not really going to show through. Obviously that clip is attached kind of beside the Backspacer, like you'd have to remove, I believe, the Backspacer to get at that bolt. So that's a nice little detail, which is always cool on the Stellars. And then even on the inside of the lock bar side of this is they've how do I explain this? They've actually milled out deep pockets behind the lock as well. Also difficult to kind of show and explain, but at the same time, it's in there. Really, really cool. So cool, man. On the blade itself, I guess we haven't even talked about the blade. Yes, S90V, yes, very cool. It's got the CD logo, Custom Division. And for a lot of people, that would be like an M badge on an M series vehicle. It's just their high performance, high-end, ultra exclusive kind of badge. In here, you've actually kind of got a couple different layers of finish. You've got the stone wash on the main portion of the blade. You've got some satin flats. And I've always loved how this looks like a cockpit of like a fighter jet. Just a cool looking blade profile overall. I've always loved that. And then inside the cockpit, it's actually a different finish as well, which I believe looks to be like a stone wash, but I could be wrong. I'm kind of looking at a camera. It's hard to explain. without actually looking at it up close, but it appears to be maybe a stonewash, maybe a polished satin, but they've definitely got that nice bevel in there as well. And then on the blade itself, the nose is pinched in all the way down to the end. There is limited jimping on the blade. This is, an area of, I guess, discussion in the past on a couple, well, the Stellaris, certainly, the Stellar. People say, well, it doesn't have a whole lot of jimping. And you know what? That would be a problem if it didn't fit your hand so well. A couple things that are just, you're not going to really see in the drawings. Your finger falls into this zone so nicely, and uncategorically, I should say. It fits like a glove, okay? You don't need all that jimping. In fact, I believe the Stellaris was actually beveled down, not beveled, kind of shaped, machined down for like a reverse concave kind of profile. I don't think this one is. I can't tell if it is. I don't think so. It appears to be a flat with a bit of a groove cut, which actually matches that fighter jet cockpit like I was talking about, which is actually a really nice little design feature now that I look at it. It actually extends to the top of the blade, which is so cool. And then the jimping. But the beauty of this is around the jimping, you've got two thick bevels on the inside of the frame. So your thumb just finds this spot so nicely. It falls in there. It fits just tremendously well. And then that jimping just adds as a bit of a grip to kind of, hey, don't go past here. But if you had to, you could. It's still flat, and then narrows down towards the tip. But no swell at the end of the blade either on this one. So just keep that in mind. And then on the bottom, we, I believe, should have a mirror polished edge, which we do. They're doing that on a lot of the custom divisions now, and have been for a while, as that mirrored edge, which is gorgeous, and also a good way to see if someone's used it. In this case, no. So where do we go from here? Fit in hand with that all said. Fits me beautiful. I've got an extra large glove size, and I've got no issues holding this. I have 0 hot spots on that rounded clip, which is quite nice. And then if you want to reverse hold that, obviously there's a nice little groove there where it's not going to cause any kind of problems in hand. It's just a perfect everyday carry size. And now with that, addition of that, I'm going to call it the wing bolster. It feels like a bit of a wing that's kind of popping up ever so slightly off of the frame. You see it just a hair. It pops up. It just makes holding this knife like incredibly well from a design that I didn't think you could really improve upon. And then the raindrop texturing, whatever you're going to call it, it adds a little bit of grip to a knife that I didn't think it needed it. But now that I have it, I go, wow, that's terrific. Really, truly is. The design elements are all very similar. You still have that nice profile that's cut in the top here, which, is just comfortable on your hand wherever you want to hold it. It adds an overall aesthetic to it. Like I said, when that patterning pops off the handle, really, really nicely. And then we've got a bear on the back of the blade here, or of the heel of the handle, that is just a little bit different than some of the other knives, namely the MIDI cues. That bear looks a little different. Just a smidge, but the Shiro logo being on the heel, I think that's a good it's a good match. It really is. Instead of it being on the blade. And they've done that with a lot of the knives now, namely the Astrum. They did it with the Stellar production knives as well. And I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about if I grab my Astrum. There you go. There's your bear on the heel. It's just such a great place to put it. It's not on a cutting path. It's not in a high wear zone. It's just where it needs to be. I love that. And they angle the bear's chin nicely into the design pattern as well. I don't know if that's really important or not, but I think it's just cool. Now, if you're looking at this knife, you will say, oh, hey, the knife has a hole for a lanyard. That's an eyesore. Some people will say that. And historically, some people really don't like that hole. I'm of the mindset where I don't really care. I think the knife is terrific the way it is. And based on just seeing the volume of these that have sold, I can tell you a lot of other people don't mind it either. I think it's a great size. It's if you were to omit that hole, and if we look at the profile, if we're just staring at the outside of the knife now, wouldn't you think it would look weird if they brought this backspacer down and did like a quantum-esque backspacer with that built into it, lanyard hole? And I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'll grab my Hattie. There we go. This is what I'm talking about. If you did a lanyard hole like this, it just wouldn't be the same knife, right? There'd be no sideways hole in the back. See what I'm saying? There's no hole. You still have access to the lanyard hole itself, or the lanyard attachment, but it's just out of sight from the side. So let's just say you did that on the Stellar. Okay, camera, come on. Now let's just say you did that. Like, I feel like the shape of this knife just wouldn't work the same way. What do you think? Would that be kind of silly? Now, we haven't even talked about this, but we have also matched the backspacer, which I love that they went with this thick, super thick backspacer pattern, gear pattern. Usually they match the jimping on the blade with this, and they went old school with this 3D milling and made it big and thick, and they're actually changing the gears. Each one of them is different. So you go from flat to a little bit tapered, and then it gets more tapered, and then until the end here, where the taper's gone. You are right into just a cool nothing pattern. So that's a lot of work. I think that's terrific and unique. And then top that off with the tolerances of that blade, which is, it's not touching the backspacer, but it may as well be. Like, it's so tight, that's what she said, that I don't know how they produce 100 of these and don't have any issues with that blade touching. Obviously dead center, that's not a problem. I know some of the Stellaruses were not dead center, and that's just inherent of that design. But these all appear to be, boom, right in the middle. Now, there's no emphasis, I call them emphasis lines on this, as per like some of the other custom divisions. Sometimes they kind of will actually bring in mill lines, centering lines in the backspacer. And I think, did the strip have that? I think the strip did have that. Let's take a look actually at that. Yes, it did. So if we take a look at the strip, this is what I'm talking about. How you have the centering that's kind of cut right into it to show, yeah, we're dead center. And then on this particular one as well, underneath the backspacer, they've cut even more centering lines. Hopefully you can see that. Into the knife itself. See underneath there? So detail that's just super cool and unique in its own right. But to have those two lines, I love details like that. Let's take a look at the same angle actually on this one and see if we've got any cool details on the inside of this. We just have the cool lines, but I don't see any amazing centering lines, nothing like that. So keeping it simple. Now, it is anodized, a nice kind of really nice blue color as well, all the way around and underneath, and it matches those bolsters in a beautiful way. Blue on blue. I'm kind of curious why they didn't match the clip. And that must have been a very intentional choice, but typically Shiro has got a history as well of doing the backspacer and the clip in the same color. But do you think it might be a little too busy if they would have matched that clip? I think there's an argument for that. Like, if you've got the blue backspacer, the blue bolster, and a blue clip, there might be too much blue. I'd have to look at some of the full customs to see what direction they went. If they matched and did like a zircotai inlay and a zircotai clip, I'd be curious if there's any of that, if it's intentional or not. I'm assuming, let's be honest, it's a custom division Shirogorov. There isn't a millimeter of this knife that isn't littered with intent. Everything here has a reason. And I love, actually, there's a little peek of that custom division. That, you know, speaking of intentional, that's just poking right out of that handle in just such a nice way. Just like, yep, I'm here. Love it. Absolutely love it. All right, I'm trying to see what else I've kind of missed or omitted on this knife. Now that I've had, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes with it in hand, I think I may have kind of covered off. From a design perspective, I guess that, you know, you obviously have this pinched in. If it wants to focus, maybe I'll just do it like that. You've obviously got this pinched in kind of design as well, which is gorgeous. A lot of people have always brought up the fact, usually on the RJ Martins, on how there's a gap here between the frame and the backspacer, and I just don't personally have a problem with it, and it's probably very intentional. And now that I look inside there, oh my god, can you guys see this milling? Look at the milling lines on the inside of the backspacer where they mount this thing. Oh, that you don't see every day. Once again, like it's details like this on you don't get on a production knife. It's only typically found on the custom divisions, and they're literally littered with this kind of stuff all over the place in places you don't expect to see or look or pay attention to. It's just that's part of the fun. Absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. And for anyone who's kind of curious as for, you know, like if you want to try out your first Shirogorov and you've never tried a Shiro, you know, a Stellar is just such a safe bet, size-wise, because it's right in the middle of the sweet spot. It's the Goldilocks zone. But remember, the F95 is Shirogorov's quote-unquote large Sebenza. It's their original. And that was their bread and butter, was the F95. So, you know, very much like if someone said, hey, I want to try out a Chris Reeve knife, what should I get? I'd say, hey, get a large Sebenza drop point, and that's a great starting point. So I always say, try an F95 or a Stellar, and you'll know one way or the other if it's too big, too small, etc. I'm a firm believer that, you know, having options for carry is always the best choice, just based on what you're wearing, what you're doing, where you're going, who you're seeing. And you know, I've always grabbed Neons, Quantums, and Stellars. They're just, and F95s. They're just such great overall knives. Like, you just can't beat them. Now, ooh, the detail in there is gorgeous as well on the pin. What else am I missing on this knife? I can't really think of anything. I've talked about the design. I've talked about that gorgeous raindrop or whatever they want to call that. To me, it's a rain pattern, but I could kind of see an argument for like a cyborgy pattern. I don't know. I apologize if there's like a super obvious name that I'm just missing. I'm actually really exhausted dealing with this. So right now I've had a very short sleep, and my brain's operating at about 40%, but I really wanted to film this and get a video up because it's just, I need to charge my day up. Oh, and I guess the hardware, we didn't even touch on the hardware on this. If you're going to buy one of these, find a custom division tool. They look like, where is mine here? Yeah, there's one. They look like this, same kind of detail. They've got the Shirogorov custom division logo on it, and really fidgety, fun, well-made, high quality tools. They have all the bits you need to work on most Shirogorovs other than the Sinkovich bits, which is a separate tool for, but those bits will work on that tool. The main thing is this right here. It's a reverse bit, and that's what a lot of people end up buying that tool for. There's some people that try to do workarounds, myself included, years ago. I bought a brass one that just did not work. Yeah, get it for that. You're not going to mar up any of the bits. You're not going to mess with anything. As well, all the straight standard bits, they fit perfect. So, you know, you're not going to scrape anything taking this knife apart. Get the tool. Don't fiddle around. Do it right the first time, especially on a knife of this caliber. There's no sense in trying to open this thing up unless you know what you're doing. And they're not hard. I should also add, they are on roller bearings. I don't know how I've omitted that up until now. Oh, God. it's like ridiculously smooth. It's on roller bearings, so once you flip roller bearings, the problem is you'll want more things with roller bearings. I'm going to just leave it at that because they're just, they're game-changing. They're life-changing. They're that smooth and that reliable. How do I categorize them? Well, they're basically a needle bearing, right? So you have your normal bearing track with balls on it, right? Normal. Your multi-row bearing from Shiro would be like 2 or 3 balls in a row in a pinwheel. And then Shirogorov's roller bearing, like single row roller bearings, are basically a needle bearing. So think of them as hot dogs, like the rays of sunshine off of that track. And they create really good side-to-side contact with the blade itself to add stability, no play, and then they just float like something you've never experienced. I just think roller bearings they take a really great knife and they turn it into an exceptional one. And they're just so smooth and so reliable and easy to work on, and easy to find those little hot dogs, those little needle bearings when they fall out of the track, versus a 2 mil or 3 mil ball bearing. They're just, to me, easier to work on. So don't be afraid of taking your custom division knife apart, as long as you have the right tools and you have some patience, and maybe a cold Coke or something to just, instead of a big glass of whiskey, just to focus. And they're great knives to work on. They truly are. A lot of them are built in ways that you kind of stack the frame, stack the blades, stack the bearings, it's really easy to service. And then once again, you get to admire a knife like this internally that you would never really experience a lot of these really cool details without opening it up. And I'm telling you, there's a ton of detail inside this that we are not seeing, and it's a shame because sometimes, you pay attention to the patterning externally and it looks so cool and amazing and all this stuff, but then you see the insides of some of these and it's like, whoa, that's better than the outside. Some cases. This one would be tough to beat. In terms of the Stellar Series custom divisions, I don't know how you don't classify this knife as the best custom division Stellar they've made. I'm willing to listen to arguments. I just don't know how it's not. To me, it's the right color. I love plain Jane, and this is my perspective. Keep that in mind, guys. This is me. It's the right color because I love plain Jane tie. You've added obviously all the new features and amazing technology of that bolster and the apron lock, and I think there's that, what do they call it, that apron spacer in this design. When did they put that in? Was that in the Stellar, or did they only put it in the production Stellar from the full custom? I can't remember. Anyway, it's got all the cool technology. It's got, obviously, the new custom division caps and hardware, full single roll roller bearings, silky smooth. Oh, it's just, I don't know how this isn't the best Stellar they've ever made. And that's a bold statement. I just don't know how it isn't. And you're taking features only found on full custom knives and you're putting it into a custom division. So that can go two ways. One, it's going to depreciate the value of the full customs, which it might marginally, they go up and down all the time. Or it's going to exponentially increase the value of this custom division because it has these bolsters. And based on what I'm seeing on the secondary on these, I think we're erring more to the latter than the former. Popular knife size, and now you're adding the features of a full custom in a package that's just an everyday perfect match with a suit, a tie, and equally at home with a pair of jeans. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they continue to do it with these designs and these executions. They're just so good. Now, what would I change about this knife? Well, I'd look at that clip and say, well, how come it's not anode the same color as the Backspacer? And that's following in tradition of Shiro. I like the clip. I've got no problems with it. It might be too busy, and maybe someone could Photoshop it and show me, and I'd look at it and go, ugh, that's why they don't do it. So, no argument from me there. I don't know what I would change. Like, honestly, I really don't know. Oh, it just fits perfect. It's like wearing an expensive watch. It just perfect. Fits so nicely. Okay, well, I think I've probably dragged this on. I don't know how long. I've had a few breaks in the video as I've had to answer a doorbell. So I apologize if this is dragged on. I don't know how long it is, but an admirable knife needs sometimes these types of videos to just showcase how gorgeous it is and look at some of the features, and it's just an absolute stunner. And I don't normally spend this much time on a video, I know, but sue me. I just love it. I love these knives. And hopefully we can bring more of these into Canada as they come available through the show season. I guess that would be the question for most new Shirogorov users, is how do I get one? And they're offered at shows in typically lottery formats. And some lucky person, or usually a couple, will bring a couple of each of their knives in the custom division line to the shows. And then, you know, someone will get one at table, which I think is like $2,200 now on these, maybe $2,500 US. And then they're typically double, immediately double on the secondary market. And they kind of will sit there for a year or two and then start appreciating. This will certainly be one that I really don't see being sold for less than 5,000 US, maybe 5,500. And for food for thought, it's February 2025 when I'm filming this. So, you know, if you're a year down the road, maybe it's slipped $500 one way or the other. But I just don't know how it's, you know, $5,000, I think, all day, every day. With this milling, with those bolsters, with that hardware, with that blade, with that custom division logo on it, it's going to double easily. Oh, cool, and you're actually seeing, I've never seen this, so the bolsters are attached internally, and I see a little bolt on the inside of this, much like the clip. It's attached inside. Once again, level of detail that I'd love to see, how they kind of secure all this together, and how you take it apart, and how, like, it would just be such a pleasure to work on one of these. But I don't want to do anything to it, because it's actually feeling really, really good right now. The best stellar I've ever felt. Like, doesn't get better. And I'm more than anything, I should also say, I'm surprised how well those bolsters fit your thumb. I've said it, I know, twice already in the video, but I just, every time I hold this, it's just, you know, I'm so used to holding the clip from the Shirogorov to avoid lock bar pressure, and then your thumb just finds this so nice, and it's just, bloop, and you just hold it. Really, really nice. Really nice. All the modern features that you'd expect from a custom division, with detail that's just next level all the way around. So highly suggest this one. Like I think it's going to be popular for the next year or two from the show, probably the next 12 months. Very much like the CDX was and is. You can't find them. They're very tough to find, and just another gorgeous addition to those F7 fans. And littered with details like that Backspacer. Just so much going on with this one. Okay, guys, well, I think I'm going to leave you there. I'm probably half hour plus, and I apologize about that. But this video definitely deserves a little bit of some time. So check out the site, bladezilla.ca. YouTube, throw a thumbs up on the video. Subscribe Monday, Thursdays, every week, 7 a.m. Eastern times when I put up my videos. And then Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Bladezilla. It's pretty easy to find. Just look for knives. That'll be me. Otherwise, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Got to see a cool knife. My ludicrous opinion on things sometimes is annoying, and I apologize. But at heart, I'm a nerdy geek when it comes to these cool knives and designs, and when they're well executed, I sometimes ramble on, so I'm sorry in advance, but I love this stuff. Okay, guys, have yourself a great week. I'm going to put this guy down, and hopefully you enjoyed it, guys. Have a great week, and we'll talk soon. Peace.